everyone, and welcome to the Essentra Health podcast series. I'm your host, Yeji Lee. In this series, we bring you practical and accessible tools to support your well-being and to help you navigate the real-life challenges that we all face, both at work and at home. Today, we are discussing trauma, chronic stress, and how our brain responds to threat, especially in the workplace. So many employees today, we're balancing heavy workloads, constant connectivity, personal stressors, either at home or, just within your relationships, and the pressure to keep performing even when we feel that emotional exhaustion. And oftentimes, I think that people, they don't realize how much chronic stress or past experiences can affect the nervous system. Not only that, but, emotional well-being and our ability to function well at work. Actually, according to the World Health Organization, depression and anxiety contribute to an estimated 12 billion lost workdays globally each year. And according to NAMI's 2025 Workplace Mental Health Poll, 1 in 4 employees have considered quitting their job because of mental health concerns. So those are some, alarming stats that we just stated there. To help us talk through more on this, we're joined today by Jennifer Wilson, who is a licensed professional counselor and on-site clinician for Essentra Health, to help us better understand trauma in the workplace. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Edgy. I love talking about trauma and supporting folks to manage that.
So I want to ask, how does trauma or any type of chronic workplace stress affect the brain and our body?
Our brains are built to protect us, right? When we experience a threat, whether that's physical danger, emotional stress, workplace conflict, bullying, burnout, or pressure, the brain activates a survival response. Most people know this as fight or flight. The amygdala, way down deep in the center, acts as the brain's alarm system. It signals the body to release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And those are really helpful during short-term danger, right? Because they increase our alertness and they help us react quickly. But when that stress becomes chronic and we're getting too much of those hormones, the nervous system can remain stuck in that survival mode, even after the immediate threat has passed. That can affect people emotionally, mentally, and physically. If you're stuck in that fight or flight mode all the time, you may experience anxiety, hypervigilance, difficulty concentrating, emotional exhaustion, difficulty sleeping is very common, irritability, panic attacks, and general panic responses, emotional numbness, or feeling like you can't shut off the work stress. And according to that World Health Organization, unhealthy work environments, excessive workloads, low support, and discrimination are all significant risks to employee mental health.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because many employees, they blame themselves for feeling overwhelmed, when really it's their nervous system responding the way that it was designed to respond under a high amount of stress.
Oh, that's so true.
So I want to ask, why do you think that so many employees struggle silently instead of trying to seek support?
I think a big reason for that is fear. Many people have a worry or a concern that they'll be viewed as weak or unreliable or emotional or incapable, especially at work, if they're talking openly about stress or mental health struggles, especially in their workplace, in their office. According to that workplace mental health poll by NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 42% of employees worry their career would be negatively impacted if they discuss mental health at work. Almost half. And only 13% said that they've openly talked to a manager about their mental health and how they felt that they were suffering because of work demands. So instead of addressing it, many people continue functioning or trying to function while emotionally exhausted. Sometimes trauma or that chronic stress show up in ways that we don't recognize right off the bat or don't connect to it, at least. Overworking, putting in those extra hours, the perfectionism, difficulty trusting your coworkers or your leadership, that crippling fear of making a mistake, withdrawing from team interactions, kind of avoiding connecting with your coworkers, excessive irritability, avoiding conflict, an emotional disconnect even from your loved ones, or maybe constantly checking your email or being unable to rest even when you're not working. And workplace culture plays a huge role in that. When organizations normalize that overworking, they expect after hours communication, and they put constant pressure on employees without an opportunity for recovery, we often feel unsafe slowing down or speaking honestly about our stress.
And I think that many employees, they actually don't realize that constantly operating in, what you talked about, the survival mode, it eventually impacts not just work performance, but also physical health, our relationships, and just overall well-being.
Yes, really every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, and so I want to ask, what are some healthy ways that employees and organizations can begin building resilience and better support mental well-being?
I love that question because everyone needs to contribute to this change and this improvement, right? Resilience is not about endlessly pushing through stress. It's not toughing it out. It's not just keep going. Healthy resilience includes time for recovery, setting those boundaries, developing emotional awareness, and seeking out support. For employees, when we're talking about specifically workplace stress, that may look like taking breaks during the workday. You are allowed to take breaks. You need to take them. That can be going for a walk. It could be just getting out of your office, moving around a little bit, interacting with some coworkers, a walk down the hall to the restroom, anything like that. Setting healthy boundaries around work when possible. Maybe that's saying no to a task you don't have the bandwidth for, or putting time frames and deadlines around when you are willing to respond to emails or phone calls. We need to prioritize sleep and recovery. We get PTO, most people. Make sure we're using those days without guilt. Way too much PTO goes unused because we feel bad about taking the vacation that work says we're allowed to take. It's important to stay connected with those support people, whether those are friends, family, sometimes it's coworkers. Make sure you're connecting with those people about things other than work too. Make sure you're practicing grounding or stress management techniques. There's a ton of them out there. Yeah, we could do a whole different podcast on that. You could also just do a quick Google, look up some things that work well for you. And definitely seeking counseling or support early. You don't have to wait until you're having a breakdown. Reach out for that support. And your EAP is a great, great place to get started for that counseling service. Organizations also play an important role. Supportive managers and workplaces can help employees feel psychologically safe. That includes encouraging those healthy boundaries, providing realistic workloads, normalizing those conversations around mental health, making sure you're training team leaders to recognize the signs of burnout and stress, and encourage your team to use those support resources such as EAP services. Research continues to show over and over that supportive leadership and psychologically safe workplaces improve employee well-being, engagement, and retention. And one important thing I always remind employees is this: You do not have to wait until you are completely overwhelmed to ask for support.
Absolutely. And, I always stress these, but it, it's that employee assistance programs they are so valuable. They provide confidential support, counseling resources, stress management tools, and um, just connection to care before stress becomes a crisis.
Absolutely. We want to help you before this becomes a huge problem.
Right. And so I think that one of the biggest takeaways from today is this: trauma and chronic stress responses, they are human responses, and it's not a reflection of any kind of a personal weakness. I think that understanding how our brain responds to threat can help replace self judgment with compassion and remind employees that support is available. So, I want to thank you again, Jennifer, for joining us today. And thank you to everyone listening. If you are struggling with stress, burnout, anxiety, just emotional exhaustion, know that you do not have to navigate it alone. So, with that, on behalf of everyone here at Essentia Health, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.